Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Anneke's Quest. My name is Anneke. A very short episode today. Well, I think it's going to be short because I didn't do very much. I've done a lot, but I didn't do a lot of knitting. So no finished objects, only something I'm working on at the moment and something I'm swatching for. So what am I working on? That's that one, which is going to be a cardigan. It's made out of superwash wool, combined, sorry, let's just mix up languages. So it's a superwash 100% wool combined with zigzag. The sock yarn, which is 75% wool and 25% polyamide, or I don't know exactly what it is. It does say on the label. One moment. Nylon. It's 25% nylon. Anyway, so I've done the back. And just in case you think, oh Anneke, that doesn't quite fit, this is meant to be a very, very oversized cardigan for, you know, people who come to visit and think my house is rather cold. Then they can just put something on, ergo this cardigan, which will always fit. You know, if you're very petite, you just wear it like a duvet. If you're a bit larger, then it will fit. So the zigzag is a self-striping yarn. It's quite odd that this line doesn't continue, but yeah, there's a pattern to the lines. I haven't taken any notice. So there's one ball in the back, and I needed a little bit for, I think, 2 rows at the back. And then the front I knit up together, so at the same time. And so each front panel has got their own ball of zigzag yarn, so the stripes don't match, and you know, I'm fine with that. In the middle there's going to be, because it looks like it's got a V-neck, it hasn't. It runs straight from the neckline down, so there's no shaping in the neck. I'm going to put 2 panels of dark brown held together with zigzag as well. And that it's quite a wide panel, and it's going to run all the way around. So up one side, through the neckline, and then down the other side. The neck in the back has been shaped. Yeah, just to make it a little bit lower so it's more comfortable to wear. The front and back panels have been knit together, and quite tightly so, because I don't want it to sag. I don't want it to stretch out, and the sleeves are going to be quite big and quite heavy, so it will pull on that seam, and I want that to have a little bit of integrity. So yeah, I think that's just about everything I can say about it. I have done maths to see if I can get the entire cardigan out of the brown yarn I've got, and I will insert a piece of video of the maths that I've done. Hopefully I'll put in chapters, so if you're not interested in the maths, you can skip the maths part. But yeah, the aim is to insert the maths bit right here, and if you don't want to see that, skip to the next chapter, which you can do by dragging your cursor over the bottom line, and it will show up as a new bit when you get there. So yeah, hereby some maths. As promised, I will try to explain my maths for this yarn. So my question was, so the yarn comes from, this yarn comes from a sweater I dismantled. The new garment is going to be way, way bigger than the old one. I had some extra yarn as well. The question is, do I have enough of this yarn to make that? Keeping in mind that it's going to be a different gauge because I'm holding it together with this yarn, zigzag. So the gauge becomes completely different. The garment is going to be thicker. And yeah, do I have enough yarn? So what I did is I started knitting and I weighed the front, whatever I did, which was 180 grams, and I measured it, and the total surface was 2,430 square centimeters. I did the same with the back panel. I knitted to, a certain size, or maybe not certain. I just knitted until one of the balls ran out. It weighs 176 grams, and this is the total square centimeters, 4,845 centimeters. I then went back to my drawings, that one, and I figured out, because I didn't know if the sleeve was going to be A or B, my preference was going to go for A, which in the end it ended up to be A. Not because the sleeve is there, but just because that's the shape of the armhole, so it needs to be A. And then I kind of estimated the surface I need for that. So the total surface I need is the front panels, back panels, and the sleeves. So this is what I need in surface. At this moment in time, when I did the calculations, I have 659 grams of brown yarn. This is how much I have. And then in green, that's what I had at that moment in time. That's what I need in the total. But of course, it's composed out of two different yarns. So how do those two yarns relate to each other? Well, the brown yarn is 50 grams, is 100 meters, and the zigzag is 100 gram is 420 meters. So, I did round it off, say for ease of calculation, that it's 400 meters. So for every 50 grams of brown, you need 25 grams of zigzag. And then I still need to have what I had minus what I've got. So I still need 972 grams of the fabric, and then this is how much zigzag it is. Sorry, this is how much zigzag it is, and that's how much brown it is. Which means that this is the amount of brown that I need, and that's the amount of brown I have, or I had at that moment in time. So it fits. Oh man, the things you do. And it's quite a close call in this calculation. It will be less because the sleeves, I calculated a more squared off version of the sleeve. So yeah, I will need less, hopefully, she said. But yeah, it fits. If you've got any questions about this, because I've gone through it quite quickly, if you've got any questions about this and how I did it, feel free to ask, and I will aim to answer your question. Okay, let's continue with the video. Bye. For the people who skipped the maths bit, welcome back. So yeah, let's talk about the next thing I'm doing. The next thing I'm doing is I had this bizarre idea to create a long cardigan with shaping in the waist. And I went on the Woolly Knit website, which is always a dangerous thing to do. And I found some beautiful yarn, which again, you know, you should not do that. And I ordered it. I've never been so disappointed with yarn. The yarn was beautiful, beautiful yarn. I'll say nothing against the yarn. It just wasn't the color I expected. So what I wanted was to, sorry, I'm looking down because that's where I keep the yarn at the moment. What I was looking for was 2 reds with enough contrast. One moment. I was looking for this. And this one, they had on the website as a nap. So it had speckles in it and it was just gorgeous. And the website color is very close to this. So if you look it up, Woolly Knit, I think it's called reddish, as in the vegetable you can eat, radish red. When it arrived, it looked more like this. And if I can do it, I made a picture on my phone, and if I can do it, I will get it off my phone and insert it in the video, but I don't know if I have the technical expertise to do that. But if I can, I will put it in, and you can see that there's hardly any contrast at all. That it just was a no. I did kind of and ah if I was going to keep the yarn anyway, because I loved the yarn. It just wasn't what I wanted for that particular project. And to be honest, I do have a lot of yarn. This project is going to be a big project. I mean, who makes a cardigan that goes down to the knees in April? Because today is the 2nd of April. So, you know, it's not quite the time for it. So was I going to keep more than a sweater's quantity of woolly yarn? Anyway, so I called Woolly Knit. I said, I'm really sorry. This is not what I expected. Can it be exchanged for something else? Because, you know, this is what I want to do, and I can't do it with this yarn because there's not enough contrast. The man on the phone, he was absolutely lovely. It was no problem. I could send it back and they would send me something else instead. So it's going to be a bit of a weird, complicated story. Anyway, so I want to do color work. So I want a contrast. And I explained to the man that I'd been filling about with some of the yarns that I have, which is, amongst other things, this. It's a cone of Woolly Knit, and this one is called Cherry Red, and it has the contrast I want. And he said, but we've got the same one in a ball. So, which kind of confused me. So what they do is they send off, or they do it themselves, I don't know. They take 2 cones of this, ply them together, and you end up with this. So this is from Woolly Knit. It's called Warth Mill yarn. And it is exactly the same. It's just twice the thickness. And this one, I had a cone of that as well. It's burgundy and this is burgundy. So again, you know, this is it's not 2-ply because I think this is, is this 2-ply, 4-ply? I don't know. Anyway, 2 cones of this makes this yarn. So what they did is I sent back the reddish nep and they exchanged it for an equal amount of, I call it fire engine red. It's not, it's cherry red. I've been experimenting with holding 2 of those together because I know the effect of this, because the effect of this yarn is my green top and is this this sweater I'm wearing. It's the same thickness because I held it double. But the cardigan I wanted bigger stitches, basically. If I'm honest, I wanted bigger stitches because I didn't want to make the whole thing out of on a 3.5mm needle. That's the truth of it. So I experimented with holding one of the, well, first holding 2 of those together, and that was too thick. It was too thick, especially because I want it to be a very large, well, a large skirt on the cardigan. That's a lot of weight. It's a lot of weight. So I then took 1 strand of this and 1 strand of this, which basically, if I had 3 cones of this, that would be the same effect, if you still follow. Right. Test. This is my swatch. Now it's got a lot of mistakes in it, and that's fine because I'm making this swatch for gauge. And not, yes, for both gauge and figuring out which fabric I really like. And the way I do that is I start with a needle that is, of which I'm pretty sure it's too thin a needle, so the fabric is going to be too dense. And then I work my way up. So this bottom bit is made in needle 5 and it's too tight. It really is too tight. It compresses the yarn into kind of, it's not unpleasant, but it's not anything in particular either. I then went on to needle 5.5, which was okay. I'm happy with 5.5, but I thought let's keep going on. I then took 6, and in the end I went up to 7. Out of all of them, the 5.5 and the 6 give me the nicest fabric. And since the aim was to be lazy, I'm going with the 6. It's got a really squishy quality to it. Whilst when I go up to 7, I think it's because the stitches kind of are so elongated that the strands that run behind them, they kind of, rather than doing this, they slot together. They go more they find their place in the fabric rather than being stacked on top of each other. I find it difficult to describe, but 6 definitely is a very squidgy fabric. In order to make a swatch, because the cardigan is going to be knit in a round, because color work, the swatch needs to be done in the round as well. I don't like it. You know, in the end, I might as well have put on twice the amount of stitches on the needle, and I would have been happier knitting more than doing this. It annoys me no end, and the first couple of stitches, I mean, it's horrible. It really is horrible. And same for the last couple of stitches. They just fray and fringe. So I'm going to take my measurements as quickly as possible and then unravel my sample. So far so good with the swatch. It's going to be needle 6 for me. I then have to finalize the design, because what I knit here is not quite what I'd written out on paper. Do I like it? Yes, I like it. But the aim was for the bottom band to be more dark, and then for the rest of the skirt to be more light, and then the waist to be more dark, and then the top to be more light again. And for the edge, for that to be more of the dark as well. So yeah, in the swatch I made a mistake halfway through, and I thought, I don't care, because it's about the fabric I create, not about the pattern. But I do have to decide on the pattern rather swiftly, because I need it for the calculations of how to put that. So in order to get the design right, I need the right amount of stitches and the right amount of and therefore the right design, if that makes sense. Anyway, so that's what I will be doing now. I haven't got a proper sketch yet. I've got a bit of a doodle of what it's going to be, but I haven't got a proper sketch yet. I haven't made a decision about the sleeves yet, although I'm leaning towards a bit more shaped sleeve. I would love to connect the sleeve and keep on going in the round. That would be my preferred method. But I'll have to see how I get on with, get on with the skirt part first. Let's stick to that. I need to get on with the skirt part first. So yeah, that's it knitting wise. I had so hoped that this yarn would have arrived Saturday a week ago, which it didn't. It in the end arrived on Tuesday, and then there was the that it wasn't quite the yarn I had envisaged and asked for different yarn. So the yarn only arrived yesterday, which meant delays, and that's fine, you know, that is life. It's not that I was without yarn, it was just that I really, really, really want to make this garment for no other reason than that it's in my head and I want it out of my head and, you know, into reality. I also think that this might be a garment that people might be interested in knitting as well. So I will see if I can create not so much a pattern, but a guide, as in how I do it, with videos, and that people can do it that way. it would be very size inclusive because you make your own size. So it's not for, it wouldn't be for beginners. It would definitely be for people who know how to knit and know how to do all sorts of procedures, and who are okay with doing their own mats. And yeah, it wouldn't be a beginner's pattern just because it isn't. And this is my design process as well. So I'm all for, you know, for people to be independent. And, you know, if you want to recreate something absolutely amazing, and it's nice if you can make something your own. And since this only has some basic principles, you can make it your own. So yeah, let me know if you would be interested. I will see if I can put in a photo of the sketch that I've made. And by sketch, I mean it's really it's a sketchy sketch, so that you can see what I'm aiming for. And yeah, needle 6, who would have thought? It might actually fly off the needles. Famous last words. I do intend to have some pockets in it, but I've done some preliminary maths and the pockets were going to be an issue. So, anyway, that will all be for a later date. What else? Well, life. So life over the last couple of weeks has been all about my exam. So I do biomedicine, and it's been a long saga, long story, long everything. And I had to postpone it for a long time. So I started it in 2019. And I now have to do it, otherwise it expires. Which is not the best of positions to be in. It would be nice if I could pick it up at a time where I feel relaxed and confident, and the rest of my life is, you know, all my ducks in a row. But that's not the case. It is what it is. I have to pick it up now. I haven't got the results back yet because it turned out to be an open questions, so you have to write out your answer, which of course takes far more time to judge whether it's the correct answer or not. If it's a multiple choice or, you know, match pairs or whatever, the computer can do the grading, but not when actual people have to do the reading and the marking. So I'm still waiting for the result. I do know that for the next exam, which is the end of August, I have to study in a slightly different way, and I have to do it, the whole thing. I have to do it in a slightly different way, which is fine, because all the tests I had done up till now and all the mini exams had been match-up pairs and multiple choice. And it's not that multiple choice makes it necessarily easy, because they can be tricky as well, but at least all the words are there. And when you talk about the human body and how it functions, it's there's a lot of Latin involved, and I've never done Latin as such, other than learning Latin plant names. But if you change one or two letters, it means the opposite. Or it does something completely different in your body. So you have to be really precise with your spelling. And that is not the way I learned it. I learned it as in, you know, reading it and taking it from there, rather than being able to write it out myself. Which is, you know, my mistake, and we live and learn. So at this moment in time, I hope that I've passed the exam, and up to the next exam. What else? Yeah, life's been busy with work, which is fine, you know, it's all self-inflicted. but it were some really early mornings this week. Starting at 5 o'clock, which means I had to be, kind of wake up 3:45 and get out of bed at 4. I'm fine with that. I'm a morning person, and in itself that's fine. I do find that there's quite a difference between getting up to walk the dogs, which I've done for years and years and years, early in the morning, or getting up for traveling, which I usually book so that I can sleep a couple of hours and then get up to leave early in the morning, is very different from starting work at 5 day after day. And yeah, I did it and I survived it and it's fine, but I have to go to bed, I have to be in bed at 8, which I find a bit early for me. Everyone's different that way, but for me 8 is early, and 9, I can live with 9. I can live happily for a long time with going to bed at 9 o'clock and waking up at getting up at 5 and starting work at 6. That's it's interesting, what people are comfortable with. Anyway, so that was live this week, and live next week will be different again. And next week it will be study. It will be work, of course. It will be study, and hopefully a lot of knitting. So I hope to get my maths done this afternoon, and to cast on this afternoon. At the moment it's almost 1 o'clock, so I still have to do the Dutch episode, and then I have to edit, and yeah, maths and casting on. It's going to be interesting. When there's something in your head and it needs to come out. It doesn't just want to come out. No, it needs to come out. So yeah, I'm so curious how this is going to pan out. But at least I've got the yarn. I've got 1.5 kilo of each color. So I've got 1 kilogram in the balls, and I've got 0.5 kilogram in cones. Will it be enough? I don't really know. I think it should be, because from the woolly knit yarn you can knit a sweater if it's not too big or not too complicated or lots of cables. I don't know how that pans out, but I could have made this sweater from 500 grams. So if you then consider a skirt from the waist down, that's more or less a sweater, isn't it? It only needs to go up to the knee. And if you've got the body and then the sleeves, because I'm always surprised how big sleeves are when you open them out, which for me, since quite often I knit sleeves flat, I'm always surprised at how big they are. They're almost as big as a front and a back panel. So if you look at it like that, then 0.5 kilo would be enough for the top, 0.5 kilo would be enough for the bottom, and since I hold it double, it should be enough. It should be enough. Famous last words. Famous last words. But yeah, let's say that it's enough. And I can't wait to cast it on. I can't wait to finish it. I can't. I love the process and I want the end result. So. By which time I'm sure it's time to knit in linens and silks and goodness knows what. But yeah, it needs to come out of my head and into real existence. So I'm going to love you and leave you. Thank you very much for watching. As I said, it's a short episode, but it is what it is, and I hope you enjoyed it anyway. Have a lovely weekend, an amazing week, and I hope to catch up with you hopefully next week. I hope I can show you at least some progress next week. Until then, I hope. Okay, see you. Bye bye.